Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro presented on Wednesday the nation's economic results during the first 5 months of 2024 and the design of what is known as the economy's 18 engines. In Argentina, the Senate debated the law bases, the flagship project of Javier Milei's government, as citizens gathered outside Congress to express a rejection to the bill. More than 40 people have died in a fire that swept through a workers' housing building in the Mangaf district in southern Kuwait. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro presented on Wednesday the nation's economic results during the first 5 months of 2024 and the design of what is known as the economy's 18 engines. The presentation took place during Los Llanos National Council of Productive Economy, held in the state of Apure, where the head of state points out that at present Venezuelans are on the road to a powerful and productive country. Maduro also indicated that the state of social welfare has been completely repealed and acknowledged the support of the private business sector in the building of consensus and public policies for the promotion of economic and social peace. During the event, it was announced that the Venezuelan economy grew 7% in the first quarter of 2024, despite the more of the 900 sanctions imposed by the United States government.
You do not know how important it has been for the harmonization of public policies that have led us to the recovery of economic growth, to economic stability, to the design of the 18 engines, and to visualize what we are already experiencing. A new diversified economy that allows the opportunity for growth to all entrepreneurs, to all businessmen, to all sectors of the country.
Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador said there won't be any change in the nation's direction during the new government of President-elect Claudia Sheinbaum. During a press conference, López Obrador stressed that the new government will pay attention to the vulnerable, the forgotten, and the humiliated people. He also praised Sheinbaum's commitments, which he said will start to be implemented right away, and was confident that the first woman president of the Republic will continue the expansion of the welfare programs initiated by him. The Mexican president said he is not interested in becoming a caudillo or a moral leader, so he is happy to end his term and return altogether from politics.
The person who is going to govern has that sensitivity of listening, of paying attention to everyone, of respecting everyone, with preference for the most vulnerable, for the forgotten, for the humiliated. That is very important, because otherwise it would be a step backward. It would mean going back to paying attention only to a minority and forgetting about the people. That is why I am very happy.
Since 10 a.m. local time, the Argentine Senate debated a lot of bases. The project of Javier Milei's government, which has generated strong resistance from sectors of the population. The Chamber of Deputies already passed a bill at the end of April. The upper house will decide its approval. A third debate is expected on the government's mega project, which is being presented for a second time after failing to win approval during the first month of Milei's mandate. So far, it is known that the provisional president of the Senate, Bartolomé Abdallah, informed that the the privatization of Aerolíneas Argentinas, Correo Argentino, and RTA Public TV and National Radio have been withdrawn from the law bases. In the middle of the security operation at the gates of the Congress, a group of deputies was repressed with pepper spray by the police while participating in a march in front of the Legislative Palace in rejection of the law bases. Among those affected were the legislators of Unión por la Patria, Eduardo Valdés, Carlos Castañeto, Luis Basterra, Carolina Jutrovic, and Juan Manuel Pedrini. Haiti's new cabinet was formally inaugurated on Wednesday, representing the final step to rebuild a government which now has to face the nation's gun-led violence and control. More than 2,500 people were killed or injured in the first 3 months of the year, while more than 500,000 have been displaced as Haiti praises for the UN-backed deployment of Kenyan police forces expected in the coming weeks. In his inauguration speech, the new Prime Minister, Gary Conille, repeated the need to increase security in the country, which is within the grips of gangs, power that controls at least 80% of the capital city of Port-au-Prince.
I pledge to you, my fellow citizens, to serve our nation with integrity, transparency, and dedication. My government will work tirelessly to improve the living conditions of every Haitian, to build a more secure and prosperous future, and to restore the dignity of our people.
And in Cuba, 3 ships and a nuclear-powered submarine of the Russian Navy arrived on Wednesday on an official visit to the port of Havana, where they will remain until June 17. The naval detachment is composed of frigate Admiral Gorshkov, the oil tanker Academic Pashin, the salvage tug Nikolai Kisher, and the submarine Kazan. Previously, the Cuban Foreign Ministry points out that none of the vessels is a nuclear weapons carrier, so their stop where they in the country does not represent a threat to the region. Let's take a very short break, but remember you can now join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. Israeli occupation aerial and artillery bombardment of the central Gaza Strip killed at least 6 Palestinians and wounded some 20 others on Wednesday. The occupation warplanes struck a house in the center part of Al Burayn refugee camp, killing at least a civilian and injuring several others. Meanwhile, an Israeli occupation drone targeted a group of civilians in the town of Al Mugraka in the central strip, killing 5 and injuring 8 others. The fatalities and wounds were rushed to Al Abda Hospital in Nusrat, as confirmed by the hospital.
Who truly understands our suffering? Tell me. As you can see, we left behind all our clothes and belongings. Everything. People pity us. We need the world to show us compassion. I didn't get to enjoy my 4-story home.
I hope for a ceasefire to take place. What has happened to us is enough. It's overwhelming. We are devastated. Please, I call upon the nations to stand by us.
Israel, on trial before the International Court of Justice for genocide against a Palestinian, has been waging a devastating war in Gaza since October 7, 2023, killing at least 37,202 Palestinians and wounding more than 800 84,832. In addition, approximately 10,000 people are unaccounted for, presumed dead under the rubble or their homes. Throughout the Strip, Palestinians and international organizations claim that the majority of the dead and wounded are women and children. In this context, health sources in Palestine warned in a statement that hospitals, health centers, and a oxygen station in Gaza are at risk of suspending operations due to the lack of fuel as a result of the ongoing Israeli aggressions against the region and its full control and closure of all border crossing. The sources stress that if operations are suspended, it will put at risk the death of thousands of sick and injured people. Also in the Gaza Strip, more than 8,000 children aged under 5 have been treated for the acute malnutrition since the war broke out. World Health Organization chief said 28 of those children had died, and a significant proportion of Gaza's population is now facing catastrophic hunger and famine-like conditions.
Despite reports of increased delivery of food, there is currently no evidence that those who need it most are receiving sufficient quantity and quality of food. WHO and our partners have scaled up nutrition services. Over 8,000 children under 5 years old have been diagnosed and treated for acute malnutrition, including 1,600 children with severe acute malnutrition.
More than 40 people have died in a fire that swept through a workers' housing building in the Magdaf district of southern Kuwait. Thousands of residents of the building were injured in a blast which broke out early on Wednesday morning. Officials said initial reports suggest the fire was linked to violations of buildings regulations, with local media reporting that Interior Minister Sheikh Fahad Al-Yusuf Satbala has ordered the arrest of the owner. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to join us on our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on the screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. One final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back. The European elections have shown a growth of the extreme right in the continent. Let's see the details with our correspondent Andrés Flores.
The elections in the European Union Parliament have revealed a growth of the far right at the continental level, with some of its greatest exponents in France and Germany.
The rise of the extreme right in Europe is a matter of concern. I think it is due to a lack of adaptation of social democracy to the European one. As it is said here, the left is quite a minority, every time more so, and I think we must work from the left of social democracy, to fight the extreme right discursively and win the cultural battle against them.
Discursivamente y ganarles la batalla cultural. In Spain, in addition to the admission of 6 deputies of the extreme right-wing Vox to the European Parliament, another ultra-right party called Se Acabó la Fiesta, SALF, won seats for the first time.
A farm whose tomatoes already needs more paper to leave the orchard that an illegal immigrant needs to enter this country.
For Danza Arla, this party has oriented its messages to the youngest.
And among other factors, such as the new party of Se Acabó la Fiesta, which I think has hurt the Vox party in these elections and has been able to better capture that indignation, that young vote.
For activist Josep Luis del Alcázar, the alt-right has been able to channel social anger over the lack of resolution of social problems.
It is an attempt to express that this desperation could be channeled to the left, facing the issue, and after this failure that have not ended up solving the problem of the people, there is a leaning towards those parties that somehow provide easy solutions.
En diversos análisis se ha destacado como parte...
In several analyses, it has been pointed out how part of the youth has been involved with far-right parties. However, there is also another large part of the youth that has been in the streets fighting alongside workers for more rights.
I believe that the social polarization is also perceived by the youth, and there is a sector that unfortunately looks for the solution by identifying the guilty one among us. That is a bit if it is the immigrant, if it is the woman, or if it is in some way the one who does not think like me. But there is also a sector that beginning to look for the other forms of solidarity and struggle as we have seen, for example, in the issue with mention of Palestine.
The polls prior to the elections indicated a large growth of the alt-right, which, although not of such magnitude, this type of grouping has been strengthened.
Se han visto fortalecidas. Andrés Flores, teleSUR, Barcelona.
From June 10 to 11, the meeting of foreign ministers of member countries and candidates to the BRICS took place in the Russian city of Nizhny Novgorod. Our correspondent Olena Yasinski provides us further details.
In October
2024, the Russian government expects 30 delegations to attend the summit of BRICS countries in the Russian city of Kazan. The recent foreign ministers' meeting in the Nizhny Novgorod city positioned the vision of the global south and multipolarity. The event featured few speeches and solemn ceremonies, as there was a lot of work on resolving several challenges posed by the rapid growth of the BRICS.
One of the negative factors undermining states' right to development is the West's unilateral restrictive measures and illegitimate sanctions, which Western countries are actively pursuing as part of their international arsenal, in an attempt to maintain their dominance, and everyone is convinced of this. The US and its allies are undermining the international financial and economic architecture.
De acuerdo con el canciller ruso Sergei Lavrov,
according to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, the BRICS represents 45% of the world's population, with a gross domestic product greater than that of the G7. There is great potential for its growth through new financial mechanisms, with domestic currencies, which are being created and which were one of the main issues of these days' meetings.
Everyone knows the facts that confirm that the BRICS countries serve in many ways as the engine of the world economy. According to various sources, this year the average economic growth rate of the BRICS countries continues to significantly exceed the global economic growth rate.
The BRICS are called to become the driving force for the democratization of the world economy, as well as the defense of sovereignty and equality between states, as publicly expressed by President Nicolas Maduro. I want to reaffirm our country's interest, formally expressed since 2015, to join as a full member of the BRICS, thus becoming the second nation in Latin America to be part of such a prestigious group.
According to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, the BRICS represents 45% of the world's population, with a gross domestic product greater than that of the G7. There is great potential for its growth through new financial mechanisms, with domestic currencies, which are being created and which were one of the main issues of these days' meetings.
The
BRICS is an organization that tackles economic, geopolitical, regional issues and global problems. Of course, every country is interested in joining this paramount organization.
The BRICS is currently made up of 9 countries that reaffirm their multilateral relations based on non-interference in each other's internal affairs, equality and mutual benefit, practicing respect and diversity in actions and not just words. Several new members will join the BRICS family soon.
Oleg Yasinski, teleSUR, Moscow.
And now moving on. A heritage town in Colombia produces most of the country's football balls. About 15 families have dedicated their life for 4 generations to this handmade art. Our colleague Valeria Cardona tells us the history of one of these families.
The heritage town of Monguí in Boyacá has a strong tradition of producing football balls, a place where the craft of handmade footballs has transcended from generation to generation. This is their story.
A few years ago, two brothers began to venture into the elaboration and transformation of leather and the production of the ball. They introduced the profession of using an ensemble factory system. They began to provide work for people who were doing this job along with their daily work.
Estos hermanos eran Froilán y Manuel Ladino.
These brothers were Froilán and Manuel Ladino, who in 1934 brought to Monguí the ball that would initiate a tradition of craftsmanship. They taught 12 of their countrymen, known as the 12 Apostles, the technique for making them. Once a week, in front of the Ladino's house, a line would form with people from the town and farmers from nearby village who would walk a few kilometers to Monguí to sell them the production of balls that would later be sent to a nearby town to be distributed throughout the country. Part of these people from Monguí were the parents of Anselmo Barrios and his wife Mariela.
Desde barriga mi padre, mi madre.
Since I was in my mother's belly, she used to work doing balls, and then I continued also making the balls. I made any balls, sewn with leather.
We would sit on the benches, we would bring the boards, we would bring the material to the warmest parts, we would light the charcoal stove, and then we would put wood on it first and then the charcoal, so it would light up and it would be warm in the kitchen, and we would sew the balls.
From the fire pit in the grandparents' Barrios house, this family's legacy came to the cracks factory created by Nelson Barrios and managed by his son Arley Barrios.
I'm honored to be the fourth generation to do so. This means a great responsibility for me. It is learning how to do it as a kid. While many kids were running after a ball, we were producing it. I grew up in a pure board-making environment, creating piece by piece. My father taught me the process of stamping, how it was to cut a ball, and so I learned more as I grew up. Today, thanks to my knowledge and studies, I have been able to implement new trends in these products.
Como la familia Barrios, decenas de familias acá en Monguí.
Like the Barrios family, dozens of families here in Monguí have dedicated their lives to football balls and will continue to do so for generations.
Valeria Cardona, desde Monguí en Boyacá, en Colombia.
And with that story, we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.